So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the weighing scales, why the weighing scales isn't always an accurate measure of progress, and why it can actually be more of a demotivation than a motivation at times. So I'm just going to bring you through all the factors why it can affect, monitoring progress. So as I said, it shouldn't be used as a sole indicator, so it should always be used in line with something else. So say example, progress photos, or how your clothes feel on you, or just how you feel in general. There are many variables at play which affect the number on the scales, which I'm going to go through, and weight goes up and down daily unless you are a robot, and I'm sure no one watching this is a robot, so this applies to everybody. So food, water weight and digestion. Food type, volume, timing make a huge difference. So for example, if you ate a meal late in an evening and it was more of a carbohydrate dense meal, then you're going to weigh in heavier automatically the following day. So basically there's going to be more food in your stomach, so it will affect what you weigh. That doesn't mean you've gained fat, it just means that there's simply more food in your stomach. So overnight increases are not fat gain. As I said, food type. So if you had more carbohydrates than other days, so 1 gram of carbohydrate stores approximately 3 to 4 grams of water weight. So fiber, digestion system disturbances. So have you gone to the toilet yet? If you haven't gone to the toilet and you're weighing yourself, obviously it's self-explanatory. You're going to weigh more than you would have the day before. So sodium in processed foods is another one. So if you had a takeaway, for example, oftentimes the weight will jump right up, and that's because there's more sodium in that type of food. It's not because you've gained fat from eating the takeaway. So unless you eat the exact same food at the exact same time every single day, then your weight is going to fluctuate. There is no other way around it. And you are made up of 60% water, so it's really going to go up and down, and it has a lot more to do than with your actual body fat. So sleep, stress and physical activity is another big one. So oftentimes if people have a really poor night's sleep, they will weigh a lot more the following day. So I would advise people, if your sleep is very, very disruptive on a particular night, or if you get less hours than you usually would, not to weigh yourself the following day. When we're tired, our bodies are obviously under more pressure, and this leads to water weight. So water retention, it's fairly obvious that you're going to weigh more on the scales than you would have previously. And even if you've lost weight in that space of time, it might not even go down, because obviously the water is going to take over from any fat loss. So high levels of stress is also another one. So if you're very stressed, if you're going through a bit of a crisis, or if there's just something going on in your life that's extra stress than normal, you're going to weigh more on the scales. So rubbish night's sleep and very stressful times, I would say just avoid the scales altogether. So that's really around creating your own boundaries around weighing yourself. So as I said, if you're highly stressed or had a very bad night's sleep, avoid weighing yourself, just for your mental health. There's no point driving yourself mad by stepping on and off the scales when you know in reality that everything isn't really as it should be, in terms of your life and what's going on in your life. So there's a very false perception of realistic weight loss out there, and that's mainly due to like carb-free diets and juicing diets and meal replacement diets and things like that. Basically, when people do these diets, they lose a lot of weight on the scales because the water weight just drops off altogether. So as I said, you store water when you eat carbohydrates. So when you have 1 gram of carbohydrates, your body will store 3 to 4 grams of water. So it's fairly obvious why your weight will drop off when you stand on the scales after having even one carb low day, or 2 or 3 carb free days, or it's never going to be completely free carb days, but low carb days. It's obvious why the scales will drop. You resume eating carbohydrates as normal, and that water weight goes back up. It's people think that because if you have no carbs, you lose loads of weight. Now, if it is reducing your calories, then you are going to lose weight, but it's not really the way to go around it, because it's not sustainable. So that goes for juice diets and all the rest of it. Obviously, that's why the weight drops off so quickly. And then that sets expectation for people when they start this new diet. Oh, my weight should be dropping off really quickly. But in reality, a realistic, slow and steady rate of weight loss is going to last long term. It's just actually losing fat rather than losing water. So in order to retain muscle bone and to protect your organ health and just your overall health in general, we don't want it to be a very fast process. So that's why slow and steady is the better option. Be consistent with patient with it, and that's very obvious. So with weight loss, it can go up and down and up and down, and all of a sudden you'll notice it drops off and it doesn't really go back up again, and that's when you know you're losing fat. So even if, let's say, you were really good on a particular week and you were doing everything that you should be doing, you were ticking all your boxes, and your weight was still kind of fluctuating, so you'd weigh in 0.5 and then you go up to 0.7 and then you go down to 0.3 and then you go up to 0.8. That doesn't mean that you're not, making progress. You figure in maybe a week's time that it will just go down and it won't really rise back up again. And that's just when you know that, fat loss is happening, but it fluctuates. It's never going to be like a steady curve down. And I have never seen it go down very, very, you know, accurately in terms of like a pattern. It's often very much like a wave, and then eventually it just drops off, and that's when you know, as I said. So the body is made up of more than fat, over half water, which is also represented on the scales. So if we sweat more, if we drink more, so you have a litre of water, you're going to weigh about a pound more. So that's why these generic weigh-ins with like Slimming World and Weight Watchers kind of drive me mad, to be honest, because let's say someone had an extra bottle of water, then they're maybe going to be up a pound. Maybe not that extreme, but it's going to be like, well, a litre of water, you will be up a pound. So people kind of have all their eggs in one basket, and then they're left really disappointed, even if they did put in all the work. So it's just not a very fair way to monitor it at all. So then alcohol, it's definitely another one. So with alcohol, it's strange because you might go on a night out and you wake up the following morning and be like maybe even 4 pounds lighter. That's just pure dehydration. So as I said, the water weight. And then you might weigh yourself the following day and you'll be up the 4 pounds and more. And that's just because of the carbs in the alcohol, really. So people again think, oh, I put on so much weight because I had one night out, but in reality, it's going to be the carbs storing the water, and that's why. So alcohol is a bit of a funny one because it kind of creates a drop, and then again, and again, just if you do go on a night out, great, lovely. Don't bother weighing in for a couple of days until you know that it's going to be regulated and it's going to be kind of resuming as normal, because there's no point when your routine has been thrown upside down to, just torture yourself by seeing what number is going to show up. So, as I said, you can lose weight while including alcohol from time to time. Alcohol isn't the devil. It's not going to be the main reason why you turn things upside down or the main reason why you make these drastic changes. It's really just another energy source, another form of calorie like any other food out there. The only thing is, if you are trying to lose weight and you are drinking frequently, then it does disrupt the rate of fat loss. So because it's obviously a toxin, the body needs to detoxify it, and that just slows things down. But from time to time, there is nothing wrong with including alcohol in your life. So for women, the menstrual cycle plays havoc with the scales. It's very, very much one that makes me kind of question whether or not we should use the scales at all, because depending on where you are at in your cycle, it will change. So in the days before your period, everyone knows that you can weigh up to 6 slabs heavier. So what is the point in weighing yourself when you know that you're premenstrual and it's going to be all over the place? So again, that's more to do with water weight, estrogen and progesterone changes will cause water retention, and that's why the scales will be thrown off. So period cramps, obviously bloating and all the rest of it is going to lead to a higher weigh-in also. So fluid retention is mainly the reason there, but apart from that, just again, we tend to eat more around our cycle. So more food in your stomach, more food in your digestion tract means a higher scale weight, not fat gain, unless you're doing it day in, day out, time and time again. So the take-home message, please take note and believe in this information, because it can really take over and kind of prevent us from continuing on with something because we feel like it's not working because the scales isn't dropping. But in reality, there's just so much going on inside our body that it's just not portraying itself on the scales. So just to recap, meal type and food timing. So again, if you have a meal later in the evening than what you usually would have, even if you've gone to the bathroom, you still may have that in your system. So the amount of sleep and sleep quality, if you have children or whatever it is, and you are woken a couple of times, or if you had a later sleep time, then you're gonna weigh more. Stress levels, obviously a huge one. Illness is something I didn't really talk about too much, but that's very much a big one there. If you're not feeling yourself, when we're sick, obviously the body is under pressure and more water retention will be had. Poor digestion, constipation, there's no point even really explaining why. We all know if we're constipated, we're going to have more in our system, so it's going to obviously weigh more on the scales. Also, water intake, have more water than usual, retain water maybe in some cases. And the menstrual cycle is, as I spoke about, hormone changes, weight fluctuations. So before you step on the scales with your mood depending on the result, take a second. Remind yourself that this doesn't define you, it doesn't define how much progress you've made. Yes, it can be great to step on the scales and see that you have dropped off a lot and you automatically think, whoa, I've lost so much fat. And if it has dropped a good bit, the reality is you have lost fat, but if you haven't, then it doesn't mean that you haven't made progress. So do yourself a favor and believe in this information. So we're so programmed into believing that the number will kind of determines how we've done or what, how much work we've put in. So it's very hard to shift your mindset then to thinking otherwise. So if you can kind of just remind yourself of this information and just recap over it, and don't let it affect your mood, don't let it affect your motivation, because when we become emotionally attached to a number, it's a very slippery slope to go down. So I hope this video has been beneficial, and I will catch you next time.